morning. Good morning. Gosh, it's early, huh? Am I on? There we go. We're going to sing this morning Melanie D'Amour's Lead with Love, and we sang this back in January. I'm sure you remember it. Yes. Choir, if you'll rise. I invite all of you to rise. The lyrics will come up on here, and it's a nice, easy tune. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. Look up ahead. The path is there. The path is there. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. But I know you're scared. I know you're scared. And I'm scared too. And I'm scared too. But here I am. But here I am. Right here with you. Right here with you. Well, you gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. And lead with love. Again. And lead with love. And lead with love. Brilliant. Thank you.
Well, that was fun. Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Our community envisions an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. Thank you for joining us today. You are welcome here just as you are. Whatever beliefs sustain you, whomever you love, however you understand and express your identity, and in all the ways you are still becoming the person you will be. My name is Ann Radford. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a member of the worship arts team. Leading worship with me today is our minister, Reverend Mary Gear, and Troy Fisher, our music director. Here are a few things you should know about the service today. You may have noticed that some of us are dressed somewhat casually today in honor of daylight savings time. When we lose an hour of sleep, we make this jammy Sunday at OUUC. We hope those of you at home are as comfy as we are here in the sanctuary. We're streaming live on Zoom and YouTube, and the service is being recorded. For those here in the sanctuary, you can see the mostly accurate subtitles on the screen in front and on Zoom if you're online. Over here, we have fluffy chairs and activities for your hands so everyone can be comfortable. We are a multi-generational community, and we value our young ones. Kids, babies, and teens are all welcome here in the sanctuary. There's also nursery care and a story time program for children in the classroom wing. Youth in middle and high school have youth group today at 11:30, and we'll be exploring the theme of equity this month. We're grateful for the many hands that have helped make worship happen this morning. Thank you to all who contribute in many ways. After the service, everyone will have the chance to discuss reflection questions offered by Reverend Mary. For those online, we invite you to go into a breakout room for a virtual coffee chat. For those in person, please feel free to stay for coffee and fellowship in the Commons. At 11:30, after the coffee chat, please return to the main room or the sanctuary for a forum with Reverend Sarah and Isaac Jennings to learn more about how we best practice welcome and inclusion for transgender and non-binary people. People of all ages, including children and youth, are invited to our all ages board games night this coming Thursday at 6:30 following the community dinner. Bring a board game you'd like to share or try one someone else brought. If you have questions, ask Reverend Sarah. The stewardship drive is off and running, or leaping, as we take a leap of faith. As of Friday, there are 75 pledges committing to $238,724. Yeah. Thank you to those who have pledged so far. And if you've not, you can make your pledge at the stewardship table in the Commons after the service, or visit the website at the link in the chat. Last, plan to come to OUUC on Sunday, March 24th from 1:30 to 4:30 for an introduction to grief ritual workshop. This will be led by Peter Jabin, a spiritual director, and grief counselor Sienna Tenisi, a therapist. This is an opportunity to practice how we transform grief in all areas of our lives and world. Check out the Tuesday update for more information and the registration link. There are many more things happening at OUUC. Check out the Tuesday electronic update or the website for the most important information. Now, let us open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. It is good to be together. This morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. If you are online and have a chalice or a candle, please join me as we light our chalices together. Howard Thurman said that there are two questions that a person must ask themselves. The first is, where am I going? And the second is, who will go with me? If you ever get these questions in the wrong order, you're in trouble. We light our chalice in gratitude for this community, for those we have chosen to go with and who go with us.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Mary, and I use she, her pronouns. I am an older white woman with brown hair liberally laced with silver. I wear glasses, and today I have on a purple t-shirt with a big heart of pride and trans pride colors, and I have a rainbow stole on today, and of course, jammies. So today's service is a little bit different in that I've asked you to share in crafting the service by asking your theological questions. Some of you sent your questions in ahead of time. Thank you for that. And I also want you to invite you to share your questions now. If you're online, you can put your questions in the chat. Reverend Sarah is standing by ready to receive those. Or you can use the cards that you received when you entered. And if you didn't get a card and a pencil when you entered and you want one, just raise your hand or wave and the ushers can get one to you. The ushers will be collecting the questions on site during the offering, and Reverend Sarah is going to collect them all and will help sort them and ask the questions a bit later. I know that you might have a lot of questions, and I won't be able to address all of them today, but I read them all and I keep them for topics for future services. So please also feel free to email me later if you wish, and thank you so much for helping craft the worship service today. Our opening words are offered by Sharon Wiley, titled, "You Are Never Alone." It's okay to be tired of change. It's okay to be tired of everything different. It's okay to feel weary of resiliency and wholeness and learning and growth, and okay to yearn simply for rest. It's okay to be grouchy and unsatisfied, and all the ordinary human ways of being who we are. Let this morning be a reminder that you are loved. Let our time together soothe what is restless in you. May you be comforted in knowing that whatever you are feeling today and other days, you are not alone. You are never alone. Come, let us worship together.
And let's sing together again. Out of the Teal Hymn Book, hymn number 1014, Answering the Call of Love. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit. If you're joining us online, you can find the lyrics posted in the chat.
You may have heard that Reverend Mary will be taking a much-needed sabbatical this coming summer. A sabbatical is a time of renewal for our minister and for the congregation. Reverend Mary plans to be gone from mid-June through October. To prepare us all for the sabbatical, the OUUC Board created a sabbatical committee of members invited by Reverend Mary. Today, we recognize these committee members with gratitude for their saying yes, for their work so far, and for their work in the months to come. Most of the sabbatical members are with us today. Will you stand as I call your name? Dan Donahue, Tiffany Felch, Kirsten Hill, and Curtis Tanner. Polly Taylor is the 5th member of this committee and is out of state today. For more information about the sabbatical plans, please check out the Spark from this past Thursday, available on the OUUC website, or in your email if you're on the mailing list. Bring your questions to the after-service forum on March 17th with the Sabbatical Committee. Thank you to the Sabbatical Committee for your good work. This month is our stewardship season here at OUUC, where we make pledges of financial support for this community. Stewardship is both a practical act and a spiritual practice. We know that it takes all of us to support this congregation we love. It takes all of us to provide the resources that pay our staff and our bills. And we know that joining our individual resources to do this is a profound act of community. Each Sunday, we pause to notice what is in our hearts and to place a stone in the water or share in the Zoom chat. Each stewardship season, we have an annual opportunity to pause, to notice what we value, and to give as an expression of gratitude for what we have received. Each Sunday, a different member of the OUUC community will share a brief testimonial about something they have found here and valued. Today's testimonial will be shared by Kurt Hill.
Good morning. Back in September of 2022, shortly after Kirsten and I moved to Olympia from California, I made my second visit to OUUC. I came by myself as Kirsten was out of town. After service, I grabbed a cup of coffee, made my way into the Commons, and stood around observing people, wondering if I could make a home here. You see, I really hadn't been to church since I was 12, when I told my mother in no uncertain terms I wasn't going back. While I was standing there, observing people, not talking with anyone, I caught the eye of someone who was looking directly at me. She held her hand up and did this. I was immediately drawn in. I was. She introduced herself, Lee Doyle, and started a conversation with me. I immediately felt myself heard and known. As we talked, she asked me questions about myself and my background, and very quickly she learned of my love of music. She said, "You have to meet Troy." And before I had a chance to protest, she grabbed me by the hand and brought me back into the sanctuary. Before I knew exactly what had happened, I had committed to come to choir rehearsal the following Wednesday. Now, I hadn't sung in a choir since I was 18 years old, and I'm a little bit older than that now. That was my senior year in high school. Singing choral music was one of the true joys of my life when I was an adolescent. And from time to time over the years, I thought about joining a choir, but I kind of felt that boat had sailed. Attending my first rehearsal, I was warmly welcomed. Everyone was friendly and tolerant of my out-of-practice voice. Very quickly, I found my voice and have become a solid member of our robust baritone section. I even volunteered to sing a solo at the Christmas concert. This is one of the many reasons we've joined the church. In addition to the joy of being in the choir, what I love are the thought-provoking sermons, the myriad opportunities to participate here, the progressive ideology, and the warmth of the community. I am grateful we've found OUUC. The pledge that Kirsten and I made is an opportunity for us to give back to and support this wonderful and wondrous place. Thank you.
At this time, no, I haven't. At this time in our service, we pause to receive an offering. Our congregation is self-supporting. All the funding for our presence here comes from the contributions of members and friends of this congregation. This offering is a time to engage in the spiritual practice of generosity, remembering that each of us has the power to give and share our resources. When we combine our gifts to create an offering, together we are able to do more than any of us can do alone. Our offering is also an invitation to gratitude for the gifts that life has given us, for the network of relationships in which we live, and for the presence of this community. Each week is another chance to bring gratitude to mind during this time. If you're new or visiting us for the first time or second time, you are our guest, and we do not expect you to contribute. However, if you're moved to be part of our offering, what you share will be most gratefully received. The offering collected here does two things. It helps support the ongoing work of this congregation, which is also supported by your regular pledges. This offering also supports an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values. Our Share the Plate organization for March and April is the Hawk Foundation. The Hawk Foundation for Research and Education in African Culture dedicates itself to the promotion of education, holistic health, and trauma healing in the African American community, with recognition that when one is healed, it touches those around them. The Hawk provides African and African American music and history education for their Thurston County school partners. Also, they provide evidence-based African drum facilitation with juvenile detention centers. Each one of us, by our commitment of time, energy, and resources, help make real the OUUC grand vision of love, justice, and equality for all. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received.
From you I receive
Thank you for your generous gifts in all the ways that you share them. When we come together on Sunday morning, we bring with us all that is in our lives. And when we gather, we open our hearts to each other as we witness the complexity of our life and our world. We place stones in the water to recognize that complexity and to recognize all that we bring with us. You will hear a drumbeat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat, and together we create the heartbeat of our community. So right now, let's just take a deep breath together, in and out. And let's open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives and community this day. We extend our hearts to our Muslim siblings as they enter the holy month of Ramadan this evening. We especially extend our hearts to our Muslim siblings in Gaza. This is a month of fasting and of prayer. For those who follow Islam, it is a month of spiritual practice focused on generosity and compassion. May this be a month of insight and other blessings. And Ann Yo shares that she took a fall recently and is now home recovering under the loving care of her husband, Ken. It will be a while before Ann is out and about again, so she would appreciate our healing thoughts and cards. You can get Ann's address in OUUC Connect on Realm or by contacting the church office. And we send you our love and care with wishes for a full recovery and a return to OUUC soon. For those online this morning, I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat. Those of us in the sanctuary will be able to see your sharing on the screen. And for those on site today, I invite you to come forward if there's something you would like to bring into this community. You may hold your sharing in your heart as you place a stone in the water of community. It works best if we come up by the side aisle and return by the center aisle. Let's hear the heartbeat of our community as we open our hearts in love and care to all those who share today. We'll place a stone in the water for all that has been shared online, shared from the heart. And one more stone placed in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. Welcome. I would invite you to find a position that best supports your ability to imagine, to breathe, and to move your arms up and down. So I invite you to imagine holding a ball of light right in front of you. It might be a glass ball reflecting the light of the sun. Not too hot, just warm and comforting to your touch. Or it could be a beach ball, light and airy and colorful, or any other ball you might imagine. And as you are comfortable and breathe in, raise that ball to the sky, to the sun. Imagine that ball absorbing the warmth and light of the sun, warm and cozy and comforting. And as you breathe out, lower that ball to your belly, soaking in the warmth and the light as you breathe. And once more, as you breathe in, raise your ball to the sky, toward the moon and the stars, the cool and quiet night sky, stars glowing in the vastness of space. Imagine your ball absorbing the coolness and quiet of the night. And as you breathe out, lower that ball to your belly, soaking in the cool and quiet of the night. And one last time, as you breathe in, raise your ball to the sky, toward the planets and the solar systems and the galaxies out in the vast and beautiful universe. Imagine your ball connected to that vastness, absorbing the mystery and beauty of space. And as you lower the ball to your belly once more, soak in the mystery and beauty of the universe. As we breathe, may we offer gratitude for this day, for this earth, for this community, for this life. We pray, blessed be. Amen. Let's be in silence together.
Today's reading is from Letter 4 in Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, translated and adapted by Stephen Mitchell. Have patience with everything unresolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves, as if they were locked in rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the question now. Perhaps then, someday far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer.
One of the things that I love about Unitarian Universalism is that we don't believe that answers are set in stone, but are living and changing. We are seekers who honor the questions, both the questions and the answers, knowing that they will change over time. We are a creedless tradition, which means that we do not tell people what to believe. We don't say, believe this or do this and you will go to heaven. What we do is we ask, what do you believe? What are your values? How do you live your values and beliefs in this world? Because we believe that heaven is what we create here on earth. We say that everyone has the right to decide their own beliefs, and we accompany each other on the journey to find truth and meaning, knowing that there are many truths. We ask questions, we reflect, we discuss, we act, and we decide for ourselves. And I believe this is one of the reasons that we seek out each other and we create community. We like to have help asking and living the questions. We support each other as we face uncertainty, and we want companions on our journey. For today's question box service, I asked you to share your big questions with the intention of addressing them, some of them today, and bringing others into future services. Some of you sent me questions in advance. Thank you for that. And some of you shared them today or put them in the chat. And what I'm offering today is just my take on these questions. Another aspect of our liberal religion is that we don't require the mediating presence of a religious leader to have access to the holy. We assert that everyone can have the direct experience of transcendent mystery and wonder. We open ourselves directly to the sacred by asking questions and living into the answers. So, in other words, just take what I have to say into consideration. So we begin with a couple questions from this past week. Ginny Taylor asked me to address a bit more doing and being. So this is a topic that I've addressed on occasion over these last years and no doubt will do again. Ginny reminded me of a piece that I wrote in the Spark in 2021 when we were revisiting our vision and mission, encouraging us to pay attention to our spiritual grounding, our being, so that our doing can become more clear. And Ginny wrote to me, when I first read your piece in the Spark three or more years ago, it struck a strong chord with me and has ever since. I reread it many times as I transition with less doing and more being. I can identify with your message. I'd like to hear more about your thoughts about giving our attention to our individual and collective being and spiritual growth. So thank you, Ginny, for reminding me of this important topic. and for sharing the transition in your life. I would say that the practice of being is part of the work of elderhood. And as, that's right. And as a beloved elder of this congregation, Ginny, we have so benefited from all that you have done for these many years. And you show up here as an elder with your being, and we benefit from that as well. Thank you. So one of the things that I said in that Spark article 3 years ago was that this is a doing congregation, and you called a doing minister. We found each other in the search process. We did, and I think we're a pretty good match. And it has been in serving as your minister that I have deeply explored my own doing and being as I have invited you to do the same. And I've learned that sometimes I am so focused on doing tasks that I forget the importance of relationships. I forget that my doing is less important than being in relationship with others. And I've learned that many times the impulse underneath my doing is not anything noble or even kind. I've learned that sometimes the impulse under my doing is fear. I have been humbled to realize how much fear drives what I do. Not that there isn't plenty to be afraid of, real and sometimes imagined. But I wouldn't know how much my doing is driven by fear unless I took the time to pay attention to my being. I also wouldn't know that when my doing is driven by fear, I seek to lessen my own fear first, and so what I am doing might not be as helpful to others as I intend. I've learned that my best doing is not driven by fear. It's not grounded in fear, but in connection to myself, to others, and to something greater. I want my doing to be driven by my values of love and connection and justice. And so I've learned that I need at least one daily reminder of my connection to something greater than myself. It helps me remember my values and that there is something more than fear. I need a spiritual practice. It doesn't have to be long or complicated, but it's a practice that helps me remember that I am a spiritual being in a doing world. A practice that helps me stay grounded in what is most important to me. So when I invite you to explore your doing and being, to determine your deepest values, to find your spiritual practice, I'm right there with you, exploring and finding my way as you find yours. And I think that's the heart of a spiritual community. Thank you for the question, Ginny. The second question that came up this week is a result of a deep and rich discussion with the worship arts team as we debriefed a recent service. The question had to do with comfort and safety and support. So a few weeks ago, we had a guest speaker who brought up a really difficult topic. And it was a surprise to all of us, and we addressed it as best we could, both on-site and online. And thank you, Teresa, for the online support. Now, please don't hear that we don't talk about difficult topics here, because we do. But ideally, we know about the difficult topics ahead of time, and we put supports in place so that people, first of all, can decide if they want to hear about the topic. That's giving consent. And we are present for anyone who might need some extra care and support as a result of the topic. In the worship arts team meeting, we talked about how important safety is, especially in a sanctuary, and how supporting each other during difficult topics can be about safety. We talked about the difference between comfort and safety. And I think we can all expect some discomfort on occasion in a worship service. If we're not challenged once in a while, then the preacher isn't doing their job. But feelings of discomfort, the discomfort of growth, is not the same as feeling unsafe. Unsafe is when a topic is so painful that a person's physical and emotional health is at risk. We want to encourage growth. Being unsafe is what we want to avoid. And so I want to apologize for anyone who might have felt unsafe during that service. I'm grateful to the speaker for that day who was open to some feedback about our experience. And I'm grateful to the members of the worship arts team for their care and deep discussion and the changes that we've put in place to help create a safer sanctuary in the future. We are all learning and growing. So, Reverend Sarah, are there some questions we might want to address?
Yes, here's one from our online folks. So the question is, I've been trying to shift my thinking from a consumer to an empowered citizen. What is a way that we can practice that at OUUC?
What a great question. And good for you for noticing that that's an important shift. It's not an easy shift in our consumer society. So one way that we can practice that at OUUC, well, we're in stewardship season, right? And stewardship season is when there's an invitation to financially support this congregation. So there's the financial support piece, right? And as I spoke about with the spiritual grounding, so what's the drive, what's the impetus for your financial giving? You can take a consumer attitude which says, well, what am I getting? What am I getting here? And am I getting my money's worth? Or how much is this worth to me? That's a more consumer attitude. I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't get something here, right? Because we all come for many reasons and to be filled up and, for community and all of those things. But if what's underneath your giving is what's in it for me, what am I getting in return? It's an exchange. It's a transactional relationship with the congregation. If what is underneath the giving is there's a reason that we're here, it's important that we're here, not just for me, but for our community and for each other and for the transformation we want to see in the world, then the gratitude that comes from that and the generosity drives giving in a different way. So one way to shift from consumer to more spiritual practice, I would say, is think about your giving. If you give at all, and if you do, what is underneath that giving? And how might you shift, if needed, from a consumer transactional perspective to a community-focused perspective? Thanks for the question.
All right, here's a totally different one. If I'm a Unitarian, can I still believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost? Signed, Recovering Catholic.
What a great question. So the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost is the Trinity, right? And in our Unitarian history going way, way, way back, the Unitarians were the ones that said this Trinity thing doesn't make any sense, and we think God is one. And one of the things that I learned in seminary that I really enjoyed was that Unitarians were at the Council of Nicaea back in the day when the Trinity became the creed of the day. It's just that the Unitarians lost. Lost the vote. So this idea of God as one has been around for a really long time and has been debated for a long time. What I would say to recovering Catholic is that if you want to believe in Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, have at it. Because we are a place that doesn't tell people what to believe, right? And so it may be that the question for you is to reconcile an identity as a Unitarian Universalist with a long heritage of Unitarianism and a belief in the Trinity. Not that those can't be reconciled, but perhaps that's a spiritual question for you to explore. And what fun would that be?
All right. How can democracy be understood as a spiritual practice?
Ooh, what a good question in this election year. So, democracy absolutely is a spiritual practice because the underpinnings of democracy are community, right? The underpinning of democracy is that all voices are present and all voices are heard, which means that we're not going to agree on everything. And so how do we bridge differences? How do we make room for voices? How do we come to agreements about how we're going to behave with each other so that we can hear all voices in a respectful way and we can express opinions in a respectful way? We call that covenant in our tradition. How do we come to agreement about things? And so democracy absolutely is a spiritual practice because a perspective toward the common good, a perspective toward inclusion, a perspective toward all voices and bridging differences, that's the spiritual practice of a faith community. And when you hear me say what we practice in here is what we bring out there, how we practice democracy and community building and the common good and bridging differences in here, those are skills that we can bring out there. And they are so much needed in this election season, especially. So thank you for the question.
All right. How do you know when you are doing enough for others and the world around you?
Well, I believe, Reverend Sarah, that that's the topic of your sermon next week. Which I believe is entitled, How Much is Enough? So I'm pretty sure that I want to defer that answer to you. And it's a really important question. And I know for me, it comes back to that balance of doing and being. When is my being healthy so that my doing can be healthy? So one more.
All right. This is a little long, but how do I tell the difference between divine intervention of some sort and happy coincidences? And how do I reconcile all the ways the universe seems to be conspiring in my or another person's favor with my atheism and scientific skepticism? And why would God or whatever pick favorites like that when other good people clearly suffer from bad luck?
Oh my goodness, there's a lot in that question. So part of that question is, being able to tell coincidence and divine intervention. And my answer would be, why do you need to? Why do you need to tell? Why is that important? How to reconcile a scientific brain with the mystery of the universe. And about that, I would say, listen to the scientists. For particularly, I'm thinking the physicists who are doing atomic level things, the smaller they get, the more they encounter mystery. And they find the connections between all that is. Or the scientists, the astronomers who are researching the entire galaxy. The bigger we get, the more we encounter mystery. It's not a contradiction to have a scientific brain and to recognize that there are things we don't know, and maybe even things we can't know at the same time. Another thing that I like about a liberal faith tradition is we don't see that there is a contradiction between a scientific mind and the wonder and mystery. The last part of that question really had to do with, why do bad things happen to good people, right? Which is a question that we've been wrestling with for a really long time. And there's lots of different ways you can answer that. Some theologies say, well, if bad things happen to you, then you must be out of favor with God and you need to change. That's not something that we say. What I would suggest Unitarian Universalists say is, bad things happen to good people in a world that is unjust. And sometimes accidents happen and things happen, and we have to reconcile that. So we have two ways that we can be in the world and in our community with each other. One is to care for each other when things happen, because things happen, things that we have no control over. And so we care for each other. We offer support and meals and rides and all the things that we do when those things happen. And the other thing we can do is that we can work for justice, to control the things that we can when bad things happen to good people. So thank you for your questions. I can't wait to read them all. There's one last important question that I want to address, and this was raised by Joe Joy at the last board meeting. And the question is there wireless in heaven? Exactly right. So actually, this is a song. It's a country song, won't surprise you, that Joe had heard. And it's a real song by Robert Earl Keen called Wireless in Heaven. You can Google it and find it, and we're going to put the link in the chat. So thank you, Joe, for introducing me to this song that has really two important theological questions. The first one is there wireless in heaven? The second one is, and will I need a password when I get there? So my answer to the second question about needing a password is, of course not. Our Universalist theology says that everyone is worthy of God's love. Everyone is worthy of the heaven that we create here on earth together. No password is required. And as to the first question, is there wireless in heaven? Joe, I would say, of course there is. Everything is connected. So let's close with a short meditation adapted from the words of Linda Hansen. Much of our human struggle is with what we do not know or understand. It is often difficult not to want answers, or even more difficult not to think that we already have them. May we experience what we do not know, not as an individual failure, but as an invitation to community. May we seek not the true answers so much as the true questions, knowing that true questions make our lives meaningful, even if sometimes it's a restless journey. So may we take our wonderings and our questions into this week, into this community, and into our time together. How about if we sing, Troy?
Let's sing together hymn number 1057, Go Lift It Up. I invite you to rise in body and our spirit.
Bless your reign.
We'll extinguish our chalice with these words adapted from Ma Teresa Castillo Gallardo. Some came here to be blessed with answers in a tumultuous world. Let us hope, too, that many of us have been blessed with questions that direct us with a clarity of mind to steer us toward kindness and justice always. May you go in peace, go in joy, go in love.